What's going on, everybody? Welcome into What's Shaking Titans. I am your host, Gary Bailey, and then joining me right over here, we got your other co-host of tonight's show, none other than the one, the only, Massey Too Savage, aka Mr. Andy Fitzpatrick himself. What's going on, Matthew Massey, bro? How you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. It's good to see you boys. I'm definitely ready to talk some good old football. How you doing?
Most definitely, man. It's been a week, man, but yeah. We got a lot to unpack for y'all here on a awesome jam-packed Christmas episode of What's Shaking Titans. And then right next to him, guys, we got the one, the only Mr. Hornswoggle himself, none other than Lee Hillis from the 615 podcast. Lee, how's it going, brother? And it is computing with him. Give him just 1 second. There you go.
I was still muted, so.
Yeah, man. So, how's your day been so far today, Lee?
Wish I could say better.
Yeah, you might want to bring your mic up a little closer. The audience can't hear you.
Is this better?
That's better.
Come on, Lee.
It's like, hey, it's like Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
Well, guys, with that being said, once again, just want to take the time to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from What's Shaking Titans. Guys, we hope that everybody has a blessed and highly favored Christmas and New Year's coming up. With that being said, let's jump right into this episode today. Welcome into What's Shaking Around the NFL, guys. We got an awesome topics to bring to y'all today. So let's go ahead and get our co-host brought back in here. Guys, man, it's been crazy past few weeks around the NFL. But with that being said, I believe there is a list of 6 teams that are now officially eliminated from the playoff runs. Lee, Titans are one of those 6 teams. Then we got the Falcons, Patriots, Jets.
The Jets.
Yep. Who else is on that list?
The Cards.
The Cards, yep. Panthers.
Yeah. And that is it.
That's it, yeah. So there you go. Out of those 6 teams, let me ask you this, Massey. What team do you think had the potential to be a playoff contender this year?
Okay, let's see. The Falcons are sitting at 6-8. That's as close to 500, I believe, out of all 6 teams. You got the Jets at 5-9. I believe the Giants are ruled out as well, or do they still have a chance?
I want to say I think they're still in the run, but they could be ruled out. I'll have to double check on that.
Okay, and then obviously the Cardinals never, their season was never in playoff hopes. It looks like the Rams. I'm not exactly sure how their division's looking either, but they're 7-7.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'd probably go with the Falcons on that one.
The Giants are 5-9.
5-9. Giants.
Giants 5-9.
So
yeah.
Right
so
I
think the Falcons would be the best answer. You might be able to even say the Broncos, but again, I'm not exactly sure what that division's looking like.
Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead on our Christmas episode of What's Shaking Titans, and we're going to make our Super Bowl prediction. What 2 teams do we think will meet in the Super Bowl? So, Lee, I'm going to start with you on this one, brother.
Let's go Dolphins-Niners.
Dolphins-Niners. That's a good one. What about you, Massey?
Oh, okay. Dolphins, Niners. I like that. Let's go Titans. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see here. Ooh, that's really
Pour
good. That's a
salt in the
good
wound
question.
while you're at it.
I might could see. I'm not going to go the Eagles. They went last year. I'm going to go 49ers against the Ravens. Let's get another rematch of
Oh,
the Ravens. What about you, Gary? What you got, man?
you just snatched it right out of my mouth, man. I was going 49er Ravens. I'm right there with you, man.
Sorry.
I think the Baltimore Ravens are going to come and upset in the AFC South, or in that at the AFC, but in the AFC, Lord. And then the 49ers, man, I think they're just the most dominant team in the NFC. I don't think there's really anybody else in the NFC that I can think of off the top of my head that just screams off the paper. I'd have to put the Cowboys maybe right underneath them, but I think San Francisco is going to go all the way this year. I think the Ravens will take it all the way this year. You know, but since you went there, if I would have to pick another team to kind of go there, I would go Cowboys, Dolphins.
Ooh, that would probably be another really good game.
Oh, Dolphins would run away with it, man. I feel like, especially if Tyreek
Get
Hill's healthy.
Tyreek another Super Bowl.
Yeah, man, that'd be crazy. So let me ask y'all this: we just keep seeing mess up after mess up after mess up by officiating. We talked about this last week. You know, guys, this is getting a little out of control and a little outrageous. And I'm not referring to the Titans game. I'm just referring to some of these calls that are going on around the league. You know, should somebody start a petition? Should players start a petition to send to Roger Goodell? What do you think about that, Massey?
Well, I mean, to furthermore what you were just saying, I think it's been an issue, and I think it's going to continue to be an issue until the referees are held accountable for what they're doing, for what they are getting away with, for the calls they're not making, the obvious turnovers that they're not calling fumbles, or what the list goes on and on. But until money's starting to get taken from these referees, or penalties are handed out to the referees that are doing this, consistently, or even new referees making mistakes, at least let them know, hey, we're not playing around. We're not going to let you continue to get away from this or get away with this, because it's going to end up being what it was in that 1960s, whatever, when the Browns fans started throwing stuff out on the field and things like that because the referees making bad calls and stuff throughout the whole game.
Maybe that's what needs to happen ultimately. And I think that was actually like early 2000s.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't want to see it get like that. We want the players to be able to go out there and compete for the win. You know what I mean? We don't want it to get to the point where the fans and the coaches, or maybe even the players themselves, are making these blatant, call or flags on themselves just out of anger in the moment because the referee did something, either that same player or the play before, or sometime throughout the game. As Tennessee Titans, I've noticed that whenever there's something that goes wrong as far as the referees go, the Titans seem to play harder because it makes them mad. Excuse my language, but it pisses them off during the game, and they go out there throughout the rest of the game and they show how much that made them mad. With that missed call or whatever the case is. Until they start implementing referees getting held accountable for their actions out on the field, just like they do the players and coaches, I think it's going to continue to be bad and just get worse in the long run. Lee, what's your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I agree. The officiating it's horrendous, and somebody needs to be held accountable. And it has to be the head officials who's making the call.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lee. Referees have to be held accountable. It starts from the top. We talked about this when we had Blue on. Everything you do as an organization or as a franchise, it starts. Leadership starts from the top and it works its way down. So I believe that Roger Goodell is going to have to be the one who initiates the changes. Who has to put forth the effort to show that, hey, what the product that we're getting on the field isn't good enough. There's too many missed calls that are costing games. I want to say it was the Kansas City Eagles game where there was blatant holding by Kansas City, one of their offensive linemen, to an Eagles defender, and it was completely missed. It wasn't even called. And then there was another play where a Kansas City receiver was going downfield, and the safety for the Eagles had wrapped him up and was holding on to him all the way down the field. It's stuff like that, that we have to get corrected, because those are game altering plays right there. Calls, I should say. But with that being said, Tom Brady has been going around talking about, you know, how the refs have seemed to be more out to call penalties on the defense in situations where he feels that the defense should not be penalized because of poor decision making by quarterbacks nowadays. Yeah. I have to agree with everything that Tom Brady's been saying. I talked about it with Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis. You're putting your players in harm's way by throwing certain passes, and it kind of boils down to coaching. So what do we need to do to elevate coaching to where we can teach these quarterbacks to position the football and his receivers in a place where, the receiver's not taking unnecessary contact? Massey, what's your thoughts on all this?
Well, you kind of have to agree with Tom Brady. Look how many years he played in the league. Look what he saw.
Talk about it.
Look at the missed calls or the bad calls or whatever that he got to sit there and witness firsthand. So yeah, he gets to sit back and watch it from afar now after playing all those years. And he said, I believe he said it, that the NFL is mediocre at best now. And what's that say for a multi-billion-dollar or business?
Industry.
Yeah, industry, business, whatever you want to
Not
call
only
it.
that, but you're looking at the most highly decorated player of all time in the National Football League. There's no one else that comes close to Brady. And I hate saying that because I like, as a player or rooting for the Titans, I was against Tom Brady. Now, I'm a quarterback person, and I love the position of quarterbacks. I love studying them. I love watching passes. I love all of it. And Tom Brady, as much as I hate to say this, was one of the best to ever do it, if not the absolute best. I mean, you can't argue with 6 rings. So do you think 7 rings, actually? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So do you think, with him being the most highly decorated player of all time in the National Football League, do you think that what he's saying might spark a change?
I don't personally think what he's saying will spark a change. I don't think that the fact that Tom Brady, one of the arguably the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, making a tweet or putting a post out is going to make a difference as far as what happens with the referees on the field. But I do think Tom Brady is in a position, if he gets tired of seeing it. We all know that man loves football, and now that he's watching it, he's getting to pay more attention to more than just what team he's on and shit like that, or things like that. So if Tom Brady is able to get a way into having a say so over referees and what they do, just like last week's episode when I said something about the guy that they call up to New York about. If you're able to call up to New York during the game and the guy in New York is like, yeah, that's a bad call, it should not have been called, then why are they still able to let that be a bad penalty during the game? They're communicating from top to bottom, from New York to wherever the game is. That was a bad call or a missed call. Or like I said, this can go even to turnovers or out of bounds calls, anything. You know what I mean? So if they're able to call up to a New York guy that is supposedly over the officiating, then why are they not able to call down to the field and say, hey, pick that flag up, tell them there was no flag on the play, continue with the football game? I guarantee you will see less contradicting endings or situations during the football game itself.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that Brady mentioned was just the quarterbacking position. Like the quarterbacks nowadays are just not up to par of what a quarterback should be playing at. Do you agree with that statement and a session observation by Tom Brady?
Go ahead, Lee.
I agree. There's a lot that needs to be done with the league now, and yeah, we hit on this last week. There need to be full time officials, not these part time officials, because some of these officials have other jobs. Like we have accountants, attorneys, software engineers, all NFL officials.
Yeah, I agree. We need to make them. We need to have officiating that is full time. We need to give these guys a salary that is, you know, reasonable enough to where that is their full time job. And during the off season, they need to be training and going over stuff to where all of them are on the exact same page, and we're not getting one call here and a completely different observation and call over there. And I'll kind of refer to this later on in the episode, but we had a situation like that this past Sunday in the Titans game where, we had two particular calls. One went one way and one went the other way, and they were identical plays. So, like I said, we'll kind of get into that more here in a little bit when we actually do our game recap. Um, One thing I would like to talk about this whole situation is, and I'm shifting from focusing on the referees because we've talked a lot about the referees over the last month to 2 months. I want to focus on let's make the game better, safer, and I think a part of that has to boil down to the quarterback. As a quarterback, you are considered the captain. You're considered the leader of the offense. Like you make the decision to put that ball where that ball's going. When you release it, it's going exactly where you want it to go. So in the league nowadays, we see quarterbacks throwing across their body, into double, triple coverage. We see receivers just getting clocked out and defenders getting flags thrown on them for hits that I think shouldn't be called, or flags that shouldn't be called on hits like that. What do you think that there needs to be a coaching camp or something in that regards to where we can start coaching up these quarterbacks to actually, play smarter and protect their receivers? And we'll go to Massey on this one.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. That's really hard because it can't. The play calls, the plays that are made up in these schemes and practices and by the coaches and things like that, not all of them are going to lead you into the defensive traffic. And also, that's going to be based on what kind of defensive player you're going against or defense that you're facing in certain plays. So I kind of see what you're getting at, Gary. That's a very good question. I just don't know if that's going to make a difference in the long run to prevent players from getting injured. I think, you know, as long as the NFL has been a thing, and probably even before it was called the NFL, there have been those kind of throwing your receiver into traffic kind of plays or just situations that had happened, but not necessarily intending. I don't think as a quarterback, I know I can't necessarily speak for specifically a quarterback in their job, but from what I've seen just as a football fan, they have reads on plays. They have, they're supposed, like Will Levis is supposed to go to D Hop, or the ball's supposed to go to Chig on an in route or something like that. So in their eyes, they're just doing what they're coached to do. You know what I mean? What their read is and what the play call is. So whether or not, because you got a lot of plays where the defender's nowhere to be found, where he should have been, where the receiver would have been going straight into traffic, but the defender's just either ahead of him or behind him, and you see touchdowns on plays like that, or like big catch plays, things like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
most definitely. And
yeah, and I
then
mean, my dad makes a great point too. This is a violent sport, so I mean, that's just going to be a part of it. I do like your question. That's a really good
yeah,
question.
and then want to give a huge shout out to Titan superfan Blueface from Sport Nation Nashville. He says split second decision. It's not intentional, but it happens. So yeah, I think it does happen, but I do think that there are times where quarterbacks can be coached into making a smarter decision than putting your receiver in harm's way. You know, so I definitely agree. I definitely can see it going both ways, like you said. It does make sense. Lee, what is your thoughts on that whole take?
There, you could go a lot of different ways because, yes, you could do sort of like an Elite 11, which is mostly high school quarterbacks going in and being trained by, like a couple years ago, it was Trent Dilfer, who's now University of Alabama Birmingham down at UAB. But you could send these quarterbacks to like that style camp and work on their reads, to work on everything else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I think we don't have to solely focus on it being the quarterback's fault, either. Because like you said, this conversation can go in many different directions. I think that at the end of the day, I think what we're seeing is the coaching, from head coaches to offensive coordinators. We're seeing a decline in, how good coaches were to where they are now. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you still have those good coaches. Like, you got Andy Reid, you got, Bill Belichick at one point was one of the best coaches in the National Football
Yeah.
League. I mean, the list goes on and on. But, I think at the end of the day, the coaches have to take the initiative to see, there's areas where they can be coached up to better these situations. And we got Sport Nation Asheville again in here. He's saying things move on so fast in the NFL is the reason it happens so much. I feel like you don't have time to catch those defensive reads and peak the safety off a lot of times. I mean, we've seen vets do it. Yeah, that's true. We have, but it's an observation that I think was very well put by Tom Brady when kind of talking about how what we see in the National Football League now is just mediocre to what it was. And I think a lot of it has to kind of resolve around not only quarterback play but the coaching and how the coaches are going about their whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, I totally get the direction you're going with your question as far as player safety, things like that goes. But the more that I think about it, we gotta also remember it'd be hard to put it on the coaches because they get paid a lot of money to go out there and coach aggressiveness and coach, violence because this is a very violent sport. And then also the players as well. They get paid bukus of money every single week to go out there and put their lives on the line. It would be a little bit different if they were only getting paid 20, 30, $40,000 a year. But for them to be able to go out there and make the money they make and have to put your life on the line each week, for me that part makes sense. And with football being such a contact sport, that's why they're trying to implement these new like helmet designs. They've been doing it for so many years now where they just keep adding as much protection as they can to the players equipment. I'm all about it. I'm all about player safety. I'm all with it. I just don't think we can put it on like coaching staffs or anything like that because that's what they get paid to do, is to coach violence, coach hit hard. Yeah, you got to coach it a certain way. You got to hit them in certain ways, or there's going to be flags thrown. We've seen the unnecessary roughness calls and things like that. But as far as the coaching staff and, maybe not being able to put quarterbacks in a position to put receiver in a position to get, run straight into traffic and get hurt. I definitely get the direction you were going with there but with football being such an impact and contact sport, I feel like it would be almost impossible to fix that part of it.
Yeah, and I mean that's a great point. It is on that line of being kind of impossible to fix. Um, but I think at the end of the day, you know, if a quarterback has three reads on the field, and one's under double coverage, the other's under triple coverage, and his check down is open, but his main target is the most reliable receiver. Like we've seen, and I'm going to refer to Tannehill and D Hop, towards the early, because that's just one of the things that popped up in my mind. When at the beginning of this year, we seen countless of times where Tannehill would force feed the ball to D Hop in triple coverage, and either it would get picked off or D Hop was taking some nasty hits right there at the beginning of the year. And I think that's where you gotta really kind of pull your player back and say, hey, you got to learn to live another day, because if you lose your number one receiver all year long because the quarterback decided, hey, I'm gonna force feed him the ball when I had a wide open player down here, even though it would have just been a 1 or 2 yard gain, so that's kind of along the lines of where I'm going, is I think that quarterbacks can be coached a little bit better. I'm not saying that it's solely on the coaches, but I think the coaching has a lot to do with it as well. But with that being said, guys, we're here to talk about the Titans, so let's get into our game recap. All right, guys, welcome to What's Shaking Game Recap, presented by none other than Fanatics. So, guys, the Titans fall tragically, and I mean tragically, to the Texans on Sunday. With that being said, there's a lot we can kind of take away from this game and break down and go into the ins and outs. But as I kind of referred to earlier, there's something I really want to bring light to, and it does involve the refs. So if you go back and you watch that game, there was a particular play where Will Levis was targeting D-Hop. And as D-Hop was catching the ball, he was going to the ground, and because of the contact of the ground, the ball looked like it popped out. So the first one they called a completed catch. So then we get a little bit further on in the game, and we have another play identical to that, and the refs called it incomplete. Now, guys, I don't know about y'all, but if you ask me, I think that first one was more along the lines of an incompleted pass than that second one. That second one looked like he had possession of it until his body rolled completely over the ball. And I think this kind of goes to what we were talking about. It's just the inconsistency that we see from these referees. Now, guys, if we take that second play and we make that a completions, that puts the Titans into the red zone, and that changes the outcome of this game. I guarantee it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get everybody's thoughts on this and what we've seen, this past Sunday by the Tennessee Oilers versus the Houston Texans. Lee, we'll start with you, brother.
Yeah, as you've mentioned, the officiating has to be better. You have to call it more consistent. Like you mentioned, the plays to D-Hop. The first one was called a completion when it was when it looked like it was extremely incomplete. But then the second one looked like a completed pass or completed catch, but they called it incomplete because of when he rolled over, it came out.
Yeah, it was definitely it was rough to see. It was rough to watch, because the Titans came out of the gate on fire. the offense drove the ball down the field, put up 6. Of course, Nick Folk missed the extra point there. But then we turn around and got an interception right behind that. It was a pick 6 by Elijah Molden. And I mean, it was phenomenal. And I was just like, okay, wow, like the Titans are light years ahead of where the Texans are right now. But then it was just like somebody decided to hit that imaginary switch on the Tennessee Titans, and they completely shut down. Like they shut off, and it was like the team that played those first 2 series on offense and defense were non-existent for rest of the game. It was rough to watch as a Titans fan. But now that we got Massey back in here, Massey, what's your take on those 2 passes that we were talking about to D-Hop?
First off, I just want to say I did get the privilege to go to this game with 2 of my brothers, Blueface and my brother Christopher. So it was a super awesome experience to be there in person. To answer your question about the 2 D-Hop, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I just wish, that the refs were more consistent. That's all I got anymore as far as the referees and that, the missed catch or the missed call. It's just
shots fired at the refs.
Yeah, we didn't get the call. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. The whole show, for weeks now, for pretty much the whole season, you're either going to get the call or you're not. It's never going to be a consistent thing throughout the game. We missed one and we got called on a BS one. So we were 0 for 2 on that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As far as the rest of the game goes, if you don't mind, Gary, I'll go ahead and go into that.
Yeah, go right ahead, bro.
Man, it was such a awesome feeling to be there live in person for the first half of the game. There was so much confidence throughout that stadium. The crowd was going absolutely bananas on defense. It was such a great, intense feeling. It felt like we were bringing this one home easy, no problem, going into the half. And then, of course, we all seen it. We come out from half, and like you said, Gary, it just looked like a whole different organization come out there to play for that second half. In the half that mattered. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not saying that the first half of the game didn't matter. It mattered a lot. We put up 13 points. But the second half is where you come out and you finish the job. You finish what you got to do. And then my dad's saying that the Texans adjusted to what we were doing in the first half. That's 100% correct. As coaches, as players, you got to know how to adjust to their adjustment. You know what I mean? Yeah. If the same thing's not working like it was in the first half, adjust. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all can hear my dad in the background, but he's putting in his
Shout out to Massey's dad there. Hope everything's going good, and a Merry Christmas to you, brother.
For sure, yeah. I welcomed him in. I knew it was going to be a great time having him right here beside me. So it's a Massey thing. But, the game was – it was heartbreaking at the end. I'll put it that way. Blueface called it. He said when it was 13-16 that they were going to come back, tie it up, and that's exactly what they did. He called overtime when we didn't get the 3 points or the field goal in the first drive of overtime, and then that happened to Will. That was such a scary feeling throughout the whole stadium. I'm sure it was scary sitting at home on your, wherever you were watching it from. But to be there and to feel the shift that it felt, the environment, just the whole shift, and it happened probably halfway into the third quarter. It was such a hard pill to swallow, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like you could literally see the team almost just giving up. And you don't want to see that as a fan, as a coach. You don't want your players to be just giving up. So it was a heartbreak for sure. We know the playoff picture has been droughted for us. It was an awesome run, and we're obviously still going to cover the Titans. But this was definitely a hard game to lose. I'll put it that way, with it being divisional and everything like that.
Yeah, most definitely. And then, you're talking about the overdrive. I want to get into something because we're talking about Will Levis going down with the injury during the last drive for the offense and overtime. Something that really kind of stood out to me, and it wasn't just in overtime, but I think we started seeing it halfway through the third quarter, like you referred to, and it was the offensive line. They shut down, man. They shut down, and they were allowing pressure to get to Will Levis, and it was tragic because, especially in overtime, there was nothing, and I mean literally nothing we could do to protect Will Levis. You know, and I mean, and this right here goes on Tim Kelly because I felt like he should have made the adjustment sooner than what he did. But the first series we had on offense, Will Levis was just getting eat up. I mean, eat up. The offensive line was not holding up. Peter Sharonsky, had a pretty rough day. But not only him, but Dylan Radins. Dylan Radins gave up a partial sack that was the sack that got Will Levis hurt. But I mean, when we first started in overtime, we weren't keeping nobody in to help this offensive line block, and they were getting to Will Levis. Will Levis didn't even have time to go through his reads properly. So, Lee, what's your thoughts on overtime in this offensive line?
Well, as you had mentioned, the big play was the hit on Will. You had Desmond King coming off the edge, and then you had number 98. I'm not sure who it was, come off the right side, and it was a nasty hit in my mind. Like Desmond King, that was a clean hit. But then you have number 98 coming in high on him.
Yeah, I kind of went back and I watched that play because that was something that Massey and I was talking about right after the game. And, I mean, if you really break that play down frame by frame, because I literally went through it and watched it frame by frame about 7 times in a row because I was trying to get a closer look at what happened to Will Levis's leg, because they refused to show a replay on it. Well, when you break that play down, Desmond King makes contact about the same time as number 98 makes contact. And I think, like, in that situation, you really can't sit there and say it was a dirty hit. In all honesty, I think plays like that happen. It's unfortunate, but Desmond King had 2 people on him. He had Tajay Spears and who was it? Oh my goodness, Chris Moore was responsible for blocking him. And I mean, Desmond King, shout out to him because he trucked through not 1 but 2 of our offensive players to get to Will Levis on that play, and so it was a good play. And then if you go back and you look at 98, his hit was definitely below the shoulder. I think, if it was a high hit, like helmet to helmet, then yeah, I'd have to say for sure it was a dirty play. He should have went low, but it was definitely below the shoulders of Will Levis. I think it was just unfortunate because Desmond King was low and had clipped his legs about the time that 98 was coming in to finish off the sack. And it was just a bounce play. I can't put that on the Texans for being a dirty play, but I can put that play on 3 particular offensive players. That is Dylan Radins, who was completely responsible for 98 coming around. Like, I mean, he literally was just like, hey, don't touch me. Hey, don't touch me. Hey, don't touch me, all the way around. And I'm just like, man, like you've got to make contact with him. You got to slow down his momentum. If you don't, plays like this is going to happen. And then Tajay Spears and Chris Moore, I mean, I felt like they did their absolute best, even though it wasn't good enough. But, Tajay Spears is a rookie. And I think in those situations, you really can't expect, them to go out there and make some jaw-dropping blocks, I think for the majority of the part, our left tackle and left guard they're having to double team everybody because they're not consistent enough to go out and do single blocks. And then we're having issues on our right side as well. And that's why we're having to keep all these extra people in to try and give Will Levis just a half of a second. You know, so Massey, what's your thoughts on this, and what do you think, you know, the Titans can do through the three remainder games that are left on the schedule?
Yeah, I mean, you know that the hit on Will Levis, I don't think the hit was dirty. I thought what happened afterwards was dirty, which was the Texans players laying on him, knowing that he was hurt. In my opinion, I can't necessarily say the hit itself was dirty, but what happened after the play, well after the whistle was blown, is what ticked me off, and I think is what ticked everybody in that stadium off. You know, it was just dirty, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Whether it was intentional from the Texans player, I'll never know. Don't want to know. I'm glad that Will Levis is going to be okay, and it was just a
Talk
sprained
about
ankle.
it, brother.
You know, but it seemed like a dirty play, and it infuriated almost every single Tennessee Titans fan that witnessed it. Not only in the stadium, but just watching it from wherever anybody could have watched it. Um, Now, as far as Tajay and Chris Moore go, yeah, you know, they're not supposed to be necessarily blocking anyway. Like, not all the time. You know, that can't necessarily fall on the offensive line, even though we all know our offensive line isn't the greatest either. You know, so it was just an unfortunate situation. I don't feel like the play itself was dirty. I feel like what happened after the whistle was blown was dirty. And you know, unfortunately, you're going to get that on them big jobs. You know.
Talk about it, bro. And I mean, you bring a good point there. You know, like I said, I don't think the play itself was dirty. And I can agree with you that after the fact, you know, if you're landing on a player and Will Levis was screaming, by all means, that man was screaming. Like, you could literally tell that man was in pain. When I seen that, my mind just blew, and the first thing I did is I text Massey and Lee, and I was like, man, this is what I tried to warn everybody about. We should have taken Levis out a lot sooner. And it's nothing to do with Will Levis is a great quarterback. And I think he is definitely has the potential to be the quarterback, the franchise quarterback moving forward. But behind this O-line, we got to protect Will Levis right now.
So do you believe that taking out Will Levis while we still had playoffs hopes was a good idea? Because that's kind of what that sounds like. Because
I'll be
up
honest.
until the Texans game, we still had somewhat of a chance to make a playoff run. And I'm sorry, I don't think we would have had that chance with Malik or Tannehill in the game.
No, I agree with you, but I'll also be honest with you on the playoff spot. I don't think we were ever going to get there this year. I think we came close. But I think with all the holes that we have, you know, from our offensive line to our secondary on defense, and I just think that it was just out of the question. Now, if we could have had more games like we did in Miami and played like that consistently more, then I would probably be sitting here speaking a whole different tune. But the fact of the matter is that the Titans have played horrible all year long, game in and game out. That's been the only consistent thing that we've seen from the Titans. Horrible offensive line plays. I mean, Lee, can you look and tell me the sack numbers on Will Levis alone so
He was
far?
sacked 7 times.
I mean, all year.
Oh, all year.
And all right, so here we go. I want to shout out Blueface from Sport Nation Nashville, who is definitely agreeing with what I was saying. But he said that after the Baltimore game. Oh no, I think he's talking about Tannehill there. Blueface, if you can let us know more of what you're talking about.
I can
He said
hop in
27.
there real quick, see if I can break it down.
But yeah,
Said that after Baltimore.
so 27 sacks on Will Levis. Come on, guys. Like, that's ridiculous. You're putting all this pressure on a rookie quarterback who we knew could be the franchise quarterback. You know, how
And
many times do we have to see another Carson Wentz situation, another Marcus Mariota situation? You know, and this is,
yeah,
I preached this till I was blue in the face a few weeks ago, you know? And I'm just saying, like, you can get out there and you can sit there and say, oh, well, we have a chance. But honestly, if you self evaluate and you look at the real contenders, you know, unless you get lucky like we did down in Miami, you know,
you're one
that's
and done in the playoffs.
exactly. So, with that being said, I think in the situation that we're in right now and what we've been in, yeah, I'd have to go with Tannehill or Malik, and most likely it'd be Tannehill over Malik, you know, and then from there, you know, at the end of the season, address the offensive line. Then let's see what we can do with Will Levis when we actually give him a legitimate NFL offensive line and not this borrowed offensive line from this elementary school down the road from Nissan Stadium.
Or the Temu version of the offensive
The
line.
Temu version, son of a gun. Yeah, so real quick, I want to give a huge shout out to our affiliate sponsor, Temu. Thank you, Lee, because I completely forgot to do that. So, guys, you can see it right here in the graphics. You can use code TAN83620 to get 30% off site wide on Temu. Then if you're new to Temu and don't have a Temu account, you can follow the link. It's right there on the screen, but you can look in the description and follow the link to receive a $100 coupon bundle towards all of your purchases. Guys, it is definitely well worth it. They have a lot of stuff, great prices, have a lot of different opportunities to win free stuff. I'm going to let Massey kind of talk about it because he's also purchased from Temu as well. So, Massey, what's your thought on that? Dun, 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 dun. You want to talk about Temu?
Oh yeah, yeah. Please. I'm sorry, I had my earplug out for a second, but yeah, man, y'all please go check out Temu, man. It's a super awesome app. We all use it. I've gotten some really cool things off of there. Prices are super nice. I think we are going to have a code, or do we already have a code?
Yes,
A
the code
promo
is,
code?
we already threw it up, but I'll throw it up again. The code is TAN83620.
Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I'm lacking on the ads or the affiliate sponsors. But yes, please go check out Temu. They have some really cool stuff. And super cheap, really good prices. They can get it to you pretty quickly as well. It's a super nice app. If you're a new user, they have some really cool things where you kind of play games on there, and you can also get some free stuff, some really cool price, free cool things. You know what I mean? So definitely, if you get a chance, go check it out. Download the app. I think it's one of the ads that show up when you're scrolling through Facebook. So it's really not hard to find. Download it. Don't cost you no money. And use that promo code. Y'all can get y'all some even better deals on what are already some really good prices and deals.
Definitely, guys. And then, Lee, you want to shout out Homage real quick?
Yeah, of course. Over at the Titan Upload Network, which the shirt that I'm wearing right now is from Homage. The hoodie that Gary's wearing is from Homage.
Yeah.
And we're partnered over at the Titan Upload Network. We are partnered with Homage. It's the one thing, it's incredible.
Yeah, definitely. So we had a disconnection there. So if you want to kind of repeat that, I'm sorry. Internet's being finicky over here.
Yeah, as I was saying, Homage, it's incredible quality. It's comfortable. And Gary, you can say the same thing. It's comfortable.
Oh yeah, guys! Like Homage has some great quality stuff. Like Lee referred to earlier, this hoodie I'm wearing is definitely a Homage hoodie. It's one of the softest, most comfortable hoodies that I personally own. So that's why you always see me wearing it. But yeah, definitely go over there, check them out. I'm gonna let Lee finish talking now.
And of course, you can go over to the Titan Upload Network. You can probably find the link on any of the watch parties from Titan Upload. You can also probably go to, I think you can go to my Twitter page, X, whatever you want to call it, and find the link there also.
So there you go, guys. Definitely go over and check them out. Check out all the stuff that they have going on with Homage. Check out Homage. You can't go wrong with homage. One last thing, real quick shout out to Fanatics, guys. You can definitely go over to Fanatics. Fanatics also has a lot of different variety outside of clothing. They have they have like wall decorations. They got actual game memorabilia, signed memorabilia that you can get. Whether you're a football fan or a basketball, baseball, golf, UFC, you name it, they got it all over there at Fanatics. So definitely go check them out. And then want to give one last quick shout out here to Sport Nations
Mind if
Nashville.
I read that one, Gary?
Go ahead.
Mind if I throw that one out there? All right, guys, from Sports Nation Nashville, he says, check us out tomorrow if y'all can at 6 p.m. Central Time for our next episode. We got a new theme song, and Titans 2023 Fan of the Year, Chili Pepper, will be the special guest on the show tomorrow. So, guys, if you get a chance, please go check that out. It's going to be a super great episode.
Definitely, man. Y'all doing a great job over there. Really proud of both of y'all. Definitely keep up the great work. A lot of plans coming up in the near future I'm sure for all three of our shows. So, let's just keep banging them out, guys. With that being said, guys, let's go into injury report.
Oh, baby, I'm black and blue. Oh, baby, I'm black and blue. Oh, baby, I'm black and blue. Oh, baby, I'm black and blue.
All right, guys, so we're going to start this off with some good news. Instead of some bad news, we're going to start with some good news. So if you want some good news, can I get a oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so guys, we had Caleb Farley, who returned to practice as of yesterday. Really, really proud that, he's able to get back out there after everything that he's kind of gone through during the off season with his back, with his house, losing his father. This man's been through a lot, so it's really awesome to see him actually get out there and get a practice, be back on the field, be back in the building. So I think this does officially open up the door of opportunities for him to return and play for the Titans. I'm not sure the timeline on that. Lee, do you know?
He just got his 21 day.
21 days. Okay.
His 21-day designation, so he could come back.
So there's
Jacksonville at the latest.
So there's a chance he'll be here for Jacksonville. That's awesome. So with that being said, guys, Will Levis, of course, is listed still as questionable. I think he has missed practice all this week. Hasn't been practicing
both days.
Yeah, and most of your starting reps have been going to Ryan Tannehill, but they also, Mike Vrabel said that they mixed in some to Malik Willis. I personally feel if Will Levis can't go, it's going to be Tannehill. I don't see a world where they would actually go with Malik Willis unless they're just trying to, get set for next year. But I think right now Ryan Tannehill gives you the best chance to compete with the roster that we have. So, guys, what's your thoughts on? Oh, actually, one more thing. I almost said Jeff Fisher. Guys, I'm sorry. It's a rough day for me, so my brain is like on a million different thoughts right now. So just want to apologize for that. But Jeffrey Simmons is still out. I don't think he is expected to play this week against the Seahawks. So hopefully we can get him back next week for, I think we have Houston again. So hopefully we can get him back for that game. Obviously we could definitely use that. Definitely want to give a huge shout out real quick to Blueface again. He's killing it in the comments. Thank you. He said Farley will be a good player to add back in the roster. I think the time off is good for him. I agree with you, man, 100%. And then he also says, prayers out for you, bro. Man, I greatly appreciate that. Appreciate all y'all's support. I know that you and Massey definitely, reached out to me and showed me some, love and support. I definitely appreciate that. It means a lot.
We love you, bro.
Definitely. I love y'all guys too. We're a big family here. So guys, I just want to thank both of y'all, from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate that. Appreciate all the love and prayers right now. But moving on, Lee, is there anybody else that we have on the injury report that I'm not thinking of?
Well, the injury report is pretty lengthy.
Okay, go ahead and fire away. We're going to full screen Lee.
So the players who have not practiced this week are Aaron Brewer, Traylon Burks, Jack Gibbons, Luke Gifford, Amani Hooker, Will Levis, T.K. McClendon, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jeffrey Simmons, Kayvon Wallace, and Trayvon Wesco. The players who were limited today are Daniel Brunskill, Kyle Phillips, Derek Henry, and Arden Key.
Yeah, Lee, you did miss one on the injury report there, buddy. And let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. So guys, you can add Blueface in on the injury report because the last game hurt for real.
Let's go. That's fact.
But Danico and D-Hop were also limited. But Josh Wiley has been a full participant the last 2 days. So we could be getting Josh Wiley back this week.
Yeah, Wiley, I want to say went down in the Miami game, right? Was it Miami when he got hurt?
I believe so.
Yeah, because Jeff got hurt and then Wiley got hurt. That's right.
Yeah.
And they were both going to the locker room together.
Yep. That was two big boys walking to the locker room. They should have held hands.
Rawr.
Guilty.
Guilty.
All right, guys. So before we get into our breakdown of the Seahawks Titans Christmas Eve showdown, there's one last thing I meant to talk about during our game recap, and that's the absence of Tierra Tart. It really showed. It really showed big time. And I get that Tierra Tart wasn't, happy here. He lost respect of teammates. I don't know what was going on with him and the coaches. But, obviously something happened in the locker room. I think it really boiled down to contract issues. And honestly, at this point, I really wish that the Titans would have kept him. I mean, because he was a vital piece to our run defense. And to not have him out there Sunday against the Texans, I mean, it showed. It showed big time.
Well, Singletary, the running back there in Houston, had 100+ yard game. It was like 121 yards on the ground, which is nauseating for the Titans defense.
Yeah. And we can't.
Yeah, and I mean, if it was a personal thing, to me that seems like a cancer in the locker room. You don't want that negativity around. You know what I mean? And there's a reason. I believe there's a reason he's not in he's not with the Titans anymore. And that's got to say a lot in itself. If it wasn't injury related, it wasn't necessarily money or contract related.
Yeah,
this was I'm whining about something I'm not getting. Either give me what I want or I'm not going to come show up for work. And guess what? He just didn't show up for work, and now he's on a different team.
Yeah, Blueface saying the same thing. It's cancer to the locker room. And I have to agree with that, but it definitely sucks because, we could physically see, his absence and how it affected our play level on the field, man. It really, that one stung.
The weird thing is, next week, he gets to face his former team.
Yeah, who is he
because
with
he
now?
is a Houston Texan.
Oh, man, that's some Baloney. Anyway, guys.
Yep.
Let's go ahead. Let's keep moving on here. Let's get into our breakdown of the Seahawks Titans matchup. Without further ado, guys, let's kick this off. All right, guys, so this game preview is brought to you by What's Shaking Titans and the Twin Titans Sport Network, which is being worked on to be launched here soon, guys. So definitely keep your eye out for that. With that being said, Titans will face off against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks actually announced earlier today, right before we went on air, that Geno Smith will get to go against the Tennessee Titans. Sorry, my phone's making my computer go nuts right now. But anyway, so what is your thoughts about, the Seahawks versus the Titans? Do you think there's a realm, a possibility for us to squeak out another win against this, this team on Sunday? Right, yeah. Is it Saturday or Sunday we play?
Sunday.
Sunday, sorry.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Oh, gosh.
Go ahead, Lee. I'll let you go first.
So I'm looking at the team comparisons on this. From a defensive standpoint, Seattle's given up almost 24 points a game, while only scoring 21. They're allowing nearly 400 yards, while only putting up 340. They're allowing over 125 yards on the ground, while only rushing for 93 yards. But they don't hold the ball very long either. They're holding the ball for under 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, and I think that's very crucial there. Like, I think time, at least in the type of offense that we run here in Tennessee,
Yes.
time of possession is key to everything. And as
speaking of the Titans' time of possession, 29 minutes and 57 seconds on average per game.
ooh, yeah,
But we have more sacks than they do.
that's crazy because we have 11?
4 sacks. We have 41 sacks on the season.
Oh dang, I didn't. Whoops, I missed that
They
by a
have
long shot.
39.
My bad.
But they have 11 interceptions.
But I did it.
But I did it.
Who's driving this bus?
One thing I do want to kind of talk about is I know that they're not good at stopping the run.
No, they're 25th in the league.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this because I think people are going to go in, oh, well, this will be a bounce back game for Tajay Spears and Derrick Henry, who both got shut down Sunday against the Texans. I want to know, and I want this going on air, and everybody, you can get mad at me, light me up in the comments if you want, but guys, I don't think we're going to see a bounce back because I think what we're seeing in the running game and the running game being shut down for the Titans have nothing to do with Derrick Henry or Tajay Spears. It has everything to do with this offensive line. And I really wish I would have uploaded this video that I've seen. And it clearly shows the offensive line just not even sticking to their initial block, and just trying to move past the defensive line to jump straight into the secondary, which when you do that, you're not even giving your running back time to get to the offensive line. And it's crazy. Like, I mean, this offensive line is terrible. They can't run block. They can't pass block. I mean, give me a break. But Massey, if you want to go to the comments real quick, Blueface asked all three of us a question. If you want to read that real quick, actually, if you want to read all three of the comments going down from there.
Yeah, sure. Sports Nation Nashville, aka Blueface, in the comments. He says, "I'm looking at this. Excuse me. I'm looking at this re-signing of Autry closely. That's going to be a sought-after piece of any defense. Massey, what do you think about us re-signing him, and what do you think as well, Gary and Lee? Y'all want to go ahead and answer that, or keep reading the comments?
Yeah, let's go ahead and answer that, and then we'll move on in the comments. Massey, you want to go first and give your take?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and run it. I think that would be a great re-signing, in my opinion. Autry has balled out for us since he came over from the Colts. In my opinion, I think that would make a lot of sense to re-sign him. Simmons is coming back. You put a couple more pieces on that defensive line and the linebackers, and I think we have a really good chance to have another good season of a very high caliber defense, especially starting with that defensive line. Gary, what's your thought on bringing Autry back?
Yeah, thank you for asking, man. I have to agree 100%. I think Autry is a vital key to our defense. And if Ren Carthon and Mike Bravel don't go after him in the realm of re-signing him, I should say, then I think it's going to be a major loss to this defensive line. Because you look at Autry, you look at Key, and you look at Big Jeff, and they have been the three most consistent pieces on our defense. And Harold Landry, as of late, Harold Landry is starting to come back and play well. But I mean, you have all of those good pieces. If you lose Autry now, then that just adds another big hole that you have to try and find room to fill. When I think we have a lot of other holes on defense and offense that we need to address, this offseason. Lee, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, if you checked out the podcast this week, I have a list of who's in, who's out. And I broke it down into 3 categories. Green is 100% yes. Yellow, if the price is right. And red is absolutely not. I have 7 names that said could come back if the price is right. Amani Hooker, Jack Gibbons, Aziz Al-Shire, Danico Autry, NWY, Chris Moore. This last one may shock some people. Derrick Henry.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't think the Derrick Henry shocks me. I think that's a smart play by the Titans organization. Because I mean, what did Henry say in the press conference right after the game? Like, hey, I want it to go out with the Titans with a bang. And
Yes.
he hasn't been able to do that. And I don't think that it's solely on Derrick Henry. It's because the Titans haven't set Henry up for success behind this offensive line.
Since Taylor Lewan left, this offensive line has been in shambles.
It was in shambles before he left. I'm telling you that right now. This offensive
Well, it
line
got even
was in
worse.
shambles before Taylor Lewan left.
Yeah.
It got even worse.
Yeah. I think had that last year when he got hurt? Yeah. I think last year if you keep Taylor in, then at best Henry might have had a 18,000 yard season because he finished with 1800. Sorry, 1800 because he finished with 1500. So yeah, I think he would have finished with 1800. That's my bad. I missaid that. But anyway, yeah, it's hard to say, man, because Lewan was struggling with staying healthy, yet Lewan was a solid key piece to that offensive line. But I think where we went wrong was when we got rid of our left guard. What was his name? Stafford, yeah. Roger Stafford. Because that combo between Roger Stafford, Ben Jones, and Taylor Lewan was so solid on that left side of the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you want to go even further back, I think getting rid of Jack Conklin was a huge, huge mistake by John
Yes.
Robinson. That's something that we should have never done. We should have never let him go, because I mean, we've been trying to replace him ever since, and we still haven't came close to doing that. And now, not only do we have to replace a solid right tackle, but we have to find a solid left tackle as well. Oh, and let me not forget to mention that, you know, our guard isn't the best guard. You know, our center
Injury
isn't the
prone.
best center. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, our offensive line isn't an offensive line. It's a vegan offensive line. It looks like an offensive line. They sound like an offensive line, but at the end of the day, they're fake. I'm just saying.
So this leads me to the rest of this list. Players that I say will not be back next year. Andre Dillard will not be here next year. Aaron Brewer will not be here next year. Dylan Radins won't be here next year. NPF won't be here next year. Hassan Haskins, Corey Levin, Trayvon Wesco, Trey Avery, and I said Caleb Farley won't be back here next year. Players that I think will be back here next year: Peter Skoronski, Daniel Brunskill, Jalen Duncan, Chris Hubbard, Mason Kinsey, Kyle Phillips, Sean Murphy Bunting, and Arden Key. I'll be back with the Titans next season.
So let me counteract all of y'all, and guys, you can answer this question as well in the comments. What do you think is more valuable to this defense, Sean Murphy Bunting or Danico Autry? Because in my opinion, I think Danico Autry is more valuable than Sean Murphy Bunting. He's done more for this defense than Sean Murphy Bunting has been able to do.
That's why I'm saying bring Danico back, but if the price is right.
Like, I think Danico is one of those players that even if the price isn't solely right for the Titans, I think you have to go out and sign him just because of the state of where we are on our roster. You know, you lose that piece, and our roster's is in shambles. You know, so I think if he wants more than what he's worth, you might have to pay him. You might literally have to consider that.
Yeah.
Back up the truck.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want Jeffrey Simmons being the only basically star player. You know what I mean? You don't want him being the only one that we know for sure he can get to the quarterback almost at will. You know what I mean? You got to have somebody beside him or on both sides of him in case there's double teams or things like that, to where if he can't get to him on the play, somebody else like a Danico Autry or, you know what I mean, can get to them. You don't want Simmons being the workhorse, because on a defense, man, that's only going to work for not 4 quarters of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, man. And like, you know, I think at the end of the day, we got to realize is we have 2 players on defense that we know aren't going anywhere. Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons. They both have huge contracts, and they both definitely earned those contracts. Do I think Danico Autry is going to slap a contract like that? No, he's not. But do I think that he deserves to get, you know, a good contract? Yeah, he does. And the Titans need to pay him, because that is a piece that you cannot afford to lose.
I'm going to say this. Danico Autry next year, because I think he has double-digit sacks on the season.
Yeah, he does. We have 2 players with 10-plus sacks.
He'll probably command 10-plus.
And that's fine to me.
Probably 10 to 13 a year.
Yeah.
So I would say go 2 years, probably 27, 28.
How old is he?
Like mid-30s.
Yeah, then I would definitely go for a 2, maybe 3 year at most contract, you know, around 10 to 12, 5. 12.5 maybe. You know, and I agree with Blueface in the comments. You know, I hate to say it because I was such a huge Caleb Farley supporter, you know, and was hoping that he would do something for us. But the fact of the matter is that he wasn't able to do anything. He wasn't able to stay healthy. It was injury after injury. So I do think we will be saying goodbye to Farley. So I do agree with both of y'all on that. He said 8 mil a year with bonus is his worth, is what Blue is saying. Massey,
Danico is 33.
do what?
Danico's only 33.
Yeah. Then I mean, he's well worth anywhere between 8 to 12.5. I mean, especially if he's over 10 plus sacks for the season. I mean, he's been a consistent piece. What's your thoughts on that, Massey? What would you pay him?
To bring Danico back, I mean, not necessarily a certain dollar amount. I agree with what you said. If he, it's such a hard business, but pay him whatever is necessary that you're able to pay him to bring him back, to keep him a part of the organization. Because if you take him out of the equation, then you're having to put another player in there. You're starting all over again. You're having to figure out if he's going to be anything close to what Danico was for us, better, worse. You know what I mean? It's just, we don't want to restart. We don't want to completely rebuild. We have certain players on both sides of the ball that we can use to build off of, instead of just having to almost 360 and rebuild altogether. So as far as the certain amount I would give to bring Danico back, whatever the heck it would take to get him back as a Tennessee Titan next year, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree there. You know, I think with the Titans having the most cap space in the National Football League going into this offseason, I think it's safe to be able to do that. And Blue says that he thinks with the rebuild. Hang on, yeah, he thinks with the rebuild he's got to take a pay cut below that $10 million, and Harold Landry needs to restructure as well. I could see a Landry restructured, but I think, and this is just my opinion. I'm rarely right on these type of things, guys, but you know, in my opinion, I think Autry is just too big of a piece to risk it. I mean, and I could be wrong on that, but you know, if he says, "Hey, 10 mil or I'm walking," I think you slap him with 10 mil. You know,
Or if you want to get younger, okay, hear me out. Even though he has not done a whole lot this year, Derek Barnett.
yeah. I don't know, man. I just feel like when you have that right piece that fits with your team, like, you know, Jeffrey Simmons is that right fit for the Titans defense. Danico Autry is that right fit for the Titans defense. Harold Landry was that right fit for the Titans defense. You know?
Derrick Henry, the right fit for the Titans offense.
Right? Talk about it, bro.
Right fit for the Titans offense.
Will
Derek,
Levis, the right
DeAndre
fit.
Hopkins. The list.
AJ, can we say AJ Brown was the right fit for the Titans offense?
AJ Brown was the right fit for the
John
Titans
Robinson.
Yep. What?
So,
No, I ain't gonna.
Can somebody please send J Rob just the biggest bag of coal for Christmas for me? Like, I would greatly appreciate that. You can say from what Shaken Titans. I will greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt though. I mean, and then
Where I am
that's
with
kind of
you.
what I've been saying too. If you can pay these star players like a Jeffrey Simmons, like a Derrick Henry, like a Danico Autry, pay them to stay in the organization, in the system that they were just in for a whole season, for 2 seasons, 3 seasons, 8 seasons, whatever the case is, pay them the money so they can continue to strive in the system, in the organization that they are in. We do not want to be a farm team type of team to where we develop them for 2 to 3 years and then we ship them off to a better team then they go out there and get rings, or they go out there and almost get a ring.
Yeah.
AJ Brown. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So like we need to put the key players in with the star players. You got your star players, put the key players around the star players, implement the right defenses, implement the right offenses, and watch us make a couple playoff or Super Bowl playoff runs, Super Bowl runs, whatever you want to call it. Put the pieces of the puzzle together and watch how good that works.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with Blueface on this. Back to the Autry thing, he said, I think that 10 mil would reduce the contract length. Maybe like, let's maybe say 2 years at 10 million or 3 years at 8 million with bonuses that take you to 11 million if you perform. So yeah, which that's something that, you know, with John Robinson, the Titans were known for, giving the players, you know, stipulations like, you know, yeah, incentives to achieve. And I think that that's what you would do here in the Autry situation. Hey, you get out here, you have another season where you pull in another 10 plus sacks, you know, then we'll boost, you know, we'll give you a 2 million pay raise. And then if you get X amount of tackles, then, you know, we'll add an extra 1 or 2 million in on that, you know, which will take them up to that 11 or 12 million range.
Yeah.
You know, I agree with that. I think that's what you have to do there. And then you're literally, you're pleasing both sides, you know?
So
Oh,
there's
real
another
quick,
guy.
huge shout out to my buddy from church, Michael Story. What's up, buddy? Hope you're having a blessed day. Thank you for joining us finally. It took you long enough, my man. It took you long enough. Where you been, bro? Where you been at? I'm playing. We'll actually have him on as a special guest one day, as soon as we can actually get our scheduling down right. But yeah, what were you saying, Lee?
There is one name I want to mention to say, hey, keep an eye out on this name, and it's Brian Burns from Carolina. He's 25, he'll be 26 next season. His market value. So I'm going to break it like this. He's the 6th best defensive end in the league this year. But in the NFL overall, he's the 49th best player overall. And they're saying his market value is roughly 23.5 million a year.
Yeah. I don't know a lot. Sorry about the camera change there. I messed up. But yeah, I don't know a lot about him in particular to sit there and
He's
give
got
him
44 sacks on his career since 2019.
Since 2019. That's not bad.
His rookie year, 2019, had 7.5. 2020 had 9. 2021 had 9. 2022 had 12.5.
But you also
far
got
this year he got 6.
you also got to realize is, you know, how many times did we bring in players? We got what was his name? He plays for the Ravens now on defense. Clowney. You know, you look at Clowning, and then the guy we got before him that came from Atlanta. You know, both of those guys were really solid players on defense and had really good sack numbers. But when they got into the Titans system, they didn't fit into the system. So that's the big question is
they in Carolina, they run that 3-4 defense like the Titans run.
But would you say the Titans run a 3-4 or a hybrid version of the 3-4?
I would say more of a hybrid look.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying for years.
That's very similar to what they run in Carolina. They're running that 5 deep.
Yeah. And then, you know, Blueface in the comments comes up with a good point here. You know, he's using Tannehill as an example of why we shouldn't try and pay too much for Autry. You know, you look at Tannehill, we gave him, correct me if I'm wrong, it was what, 120, Vic, that's right, Vic Beasley. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you. Vic Beasley was $9 million for 1 year. Never played a snap for us.
Yeah, Bud Dupree was also another example of that.
Bud Dupree. Well, I feel like Bud Dupree came in and no, I'm thinking of what was his name? Starts with an O. When we had Marcus Mariota, oh my goodness.
For defense,
Yes.
oh yeah,
Brian Arakpo.
Yes.
Brian Arakpo.
Rackpo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, I was a huge on Arakpo, man. Like I predicted that the Titans would get him 2 years before it happened.
So, March 2020, Tannehill signed a 4-year, $118 million extension.
To who?
Tannehill did.
Oh yeah. And so I mean, but you look at that and he made it 3 years. 2 years he did good. I'd say average. And then he started declining from there. Last year, I don't think Tannehill had a good year last year. I think you go back to 2020 even. Tannehill didn't have a good year. You know, I felt like he did good, but at the end of the day, the reason he did good was because he was riding the back of a 2,000-yard running back as well as the back of one of the greatest receivers this franchise has ever known. Now let me ask y'all this. You put Derrick Henry in his prime of that, 2,000 rushing yard season with A.J. Brown. You put Will Levis in on that team. Think of where we could have been at. Because don't get me wrong, Tannehill would attack down the field, but half the time it was an interception. Half the time it was a terrible pass. You put Will Levis in on that team we had back in 2020. Do y'all think we would have made it to the Super Bowl?
Probably.
What's your thoughts, Massey?
I think that J. Rob is a dumbass. I'm sorry, excuse me. I honestly think that Rand Carthon is.
Radar very quick.
I think Rand Carthon will make us proud as far as paying the guys, as far as having the advantage of the highest cap space. I think Rand Carthon's going to do his thing. It's going to be the exact opposite, hopefully, of what we've seen, the tragedy that we experienced from J-Rob being our general manager moving into the 5th or 6th season that he was our general manager. So I honestly think Rand Carthon's going to make those decisions. He's going to make those guys want to stay as a Tennessee Titan. You put the right pieces in, and I got faith in him and Brable working together and doing that. So that's what I think as far as the the whole management and things like that.
So going to the comments real quick, we got Michael saying just finished up work. Man, took you long enough to finish, but I'm playing. Guys, if you know our friendship, we always pick on each other. He over there. If you ever seen the original Power Rangers movie, he looks like Mr. Ooze. I'm joking, man. Michael, I once again, man, I really do appreciate you joining us. And then we got in here, Blueface in here. He says Bud was good, Clowney wasn't. He said he led the league in tackles with us, Brian Sackpo, that is. And then he also says, give me Will and the AFC Championship against the Bengals. We win. I agree 100%. 100% with that statement. And then he says, not the Bengals, the Chiefs, LOL. I think in both games we win with Will. Honestly, I could say that because that's how much better I feel about Will playing quarterback than I do Tannehill. Michael said we ain't friends, LOL. Michael, I'm gonna get you, man. You just wait. Anyway, yeah, so guys, we got way off track here. So what is what is everybody's key matchup for the Seahawks versus Titans Christmas Eve showdown?
Go ahead, Lee.
I can go two ways, okay? One of them is either Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf on Sean Murphy Bunting. The other one is DeAndre Hopkins versus, you could probably say, either Quandre Diggs or Tariq Woolen. Woolen, the rookie.
Those are some good matchups there, Lee. What about you, Massey?
Oh, so I think Tajay Spears. I think him matching up against the defense, the run defense of the Seahawks. I think that's going to be a really good matchup because of how shifty he is. And then if the coaches can put him in the right positions to get in the open field, either on run plays or screen plays or quick passing plays, I think Spears could have a really good game. That also is going to depend on who's throwing the ball to him. So, with that being said, I think Spears versus the run defense or pass defense could be a good key matchup. What about you, Gary? What's your key matchup of this game?
Yeah, so want to go to the comments real quick. Blueface says secondary versus the wide receivers. And he also said Jackson Smith, the rookie for Seattle, is who I think we need to watch for. I agree with that 100%. But guys, I'm going to go the offensive line against the defensive front here. And the reason why I'm doing that is because you can't have a running game, you can't have a passing game if you don't have an offensive line. So that's going to be the key matchup right there. That's where this game is going to start and finish for me. If our offensive line can come out and perform like they did in Miami against the Seahawks, then do I think we have a chance of winning? Yes. Do I think that Derrick Henry has a chance to put up good yards? Yes. Do I think Tajay Spears has a chance to get good yards? Yes. Do I think the receivers can have a good day? Yes.
Yes.
But if they come out and they play like we've seen them play all year long, where they're constantly allowing pressure on the quarterbacks, they're not blocking for the run, allowing defenders to get by them to get to the running back before the running back even hits the offensive line. Do I think that we have a chance of winning this? No. It starts and finishes with that offensive line. So I'm going offensive line versus the Seahawks defensive front.
Nice.
With that being said, guys, let's move on. Let's move on into my 3 keys to victory.
Mega win.
All right, guys, so this is my 3 keys to a mega win for a lackluster Titans team this year, guys. And I'm saying that with anger in my heart because I hate saying that, but we have been a lackluster team. So, guys, key number 1 is going to be, you heard me just mention it, the offensive line. Our offensive line has to come out. They have to perform. They have to block. They have to open up running lanes. This is one of the, I wouldn't say the worst defense against the run that we face, but it is right there at one of the worst. So we have the opportunity to do good, to open up the passing game with whoever's going to be our quarterback, whether it's Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis, or Malik Willis. I don't see it being Malik. I'll be honest with you guys. It's either going to be, if Will Levis can't go, it's going to be Ryan Tannehill, in my opinion. I'm sure my fellow co-hosts agree with me on that.
It'll be Tannehill.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
So, it starts in the trenches. It starts with that offensive line. And if the offensive line can't hold up, it's not going to be a good day for the Titans. So offensive line has to come out and perform. My second key to victory is run the bleeping ball, guys. Run the bleeping ball. Okay? We can't afford, if Will Levis gets out there, we can't afford to have him constantly getting sacked every snap. You go and you look at that overtime offensive drive, and it was literally all 3 first down, second down, and third down were sacks. You know, it was one of the worst series that I've seen by this offensive line. So we have to protect Will Levis. You know, and if it ain't Will Levis and it's Ryan Tannehill, then you know we still have to protect Ryan Tannehill. Run the ball. Let the offensive line build chemistry through running the ball. Because guess what? If they can run block, they'll be able to pass block. But if they can't run block, they're not going to be able to pass block either. You know, it kind of ties into each other.
You know it.
Then my last key here, guys, and this is a big key for us, is the Titans secondary. Our secondary has to come and they have to perform. We're doing good getting pressure on the quarterback. You know, we're doing, I wouldn't say great, but we're doing good in that category. The secondary is what has me concerned. It had me concerned last year and the year before that. We need to get more turnovers. You know, we need to stick to our receivers. We need to quit holding them while we're running down the field or running into them before the ball's even near them. You know, we need consistent, good gameplay by our secondary. So, with that being said, guys, those are my 3 keys to victory for a mega win for the Tennessee Titans. Let's go ahead and bring our co-host back in here. What do you think about my 3 keys, guys?
I actually like the third one. I agree with that. 1 and 2 go hand in hand, but I don't think it is a good idea to run with this offensive line. Um, I think as far as 1 and 2 and your 3 keys, in my opinion, I would say just throw the ball. If Tannehill's the one that's throwing it, let him have 40 something passes. I don't care if it's half a second. As soon as he hikes the ball, it's a quick slant, something like that. I say we should throw the ball more. And I know that's a possibility of turnovers and things like that, but just think about it. The way we've been running the ball, we've been getting pushed back behind the line almost every run anyway. So why not try and air it out? Your third key, I really love. I really think we should definitely focus on trying to get more turnovers, strips, or interceptions. You made a great point about the secondary. They have to find a way to get under the receiver and intercept that ball, or even punch the ball out. So I really love the third key. I'm not against your first and second key. I just don't think that would be a good idea moving forward because it just hasn't necessarily worked, as much as we had wanted it to. You know what I mean? So great 3 keys once again. Lee, what do you think about his 3 keys?
I agree. You have to think about trying to, yes, stick with him, but don't get penalized while doing it. Keep penalties to a minimum. That's one that should have been in there because I've got the penalty numbers pulled up for both sides. Seattle has 101 penalties on the year for 882 yards. The Titans have 92 penalties on the year for 741. The Titans need to keep the penalties to a minimum. And that comes down to the secondary. The secondary, those idiotic little penalties, the defensive pass interference, the holding, they need to cut that needs to be cut out completely. This team, this team's not better than you. You need to take care of business up front. This game will be won in the trenches.
So you believe this will be a really good, hard fought, close kind of game?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
I
Nice.
feel
I
like
like it.
it'll be like it was last time when we played in Seattle.
Oh yeah, that was a really good game.
Thank you, Randy Bullock.
So, I get where y'all were coming from. The one thing I want to say in regards to the running game, And this is why I said run the effing ball. Because if we can get our offensive line clicking well enough to open up running lanes, whether it's for Tajay Spears or Derrick Henry. Granted, Derrick Henry has to have a unique offensive line scheme to get him, where he's making it to the second level without getting contacted. But there's ways around that. You do rollouts. Stop trying to shove the ball straight up the middle because that's not working. You can do toss plays to Spears, not to Henry, to Spears. Do your toss plays to Spears, but you get them where they have room to get to that secondary or to that second level. Because if you can run the ball, if you can get the running game going, this is a team that once you get that running game going, you got them. It's like when you go fishing, bass fishing. You feel that first nibble, you set that hook on them, and once that hook's set, you reel them in. And guess what? With this team, bro, if you get that running game going, you just sunk that hook into that bass's jaw.
Mm-hmm.
What were you gonna say, Massey?
Oh, I'm sorry, brother. I was just waving at my kids. They just got
I thought you were raising your hand like, "Ooh, pick me, me next,
Sorry.
coach."
I just waving hi.
Hey.
Hi.
But yeah, I get where y'all are coming from. Where you're like, I'd rather see us pass the ball 40 times than run it. I get that. I really do. But at the end of the day, our team is built to run the ball, even though we ain't seen it consistently all year long. I think that this is the one game of the year that we have the biggest opportunity to make something of the running game. Now, with that being said, if we get into like the second quarter and we're having no luck getting that running game going, and we've tried, we tried toss plays, we've tried hitting the tackles, we tried running it up their gut, and we can't get it going, then yeah, you change your plan before you even go into halftime, and you go into a more quick passing scheme. But it's going to have to be a quick passing scheme,
Say it loud enough for Tim Kelly to hear you.
Yeah,
For real.
Well, guys, and I mean, honestly, I feel like a lot of people putting a lot of blame on Tim Kelly, rightfully so, because it's been a rough year. But we also got to remember that Tim Kelly wasn't dealt a good hand. Neither was Mike Vrabel. Neither was Rand Carthon. They're still suffering from what I would call as John Robinson's sloppy seconds.
Can I bring
That's a good way to put it.
stat?
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
With that being said, that is also something that they signed up for.
That's
Before they come into the organization, or I believe Tim Kelly was already a part of the Titans and got promoted, but still, it's just, unfortunately, that's just kind of the cards you were dealt, and then it will be up to you to turn it around. Do I think that's
Exactly.
possible in one season? Yeah, it's possible, but is it always going to happen in one season? Definitely not. So, I mean, I still got faith in Tim Kelly as well.
And I think if you look at this, from, the head of the organization, I think that after the season went the way it did last year, when Vrabel was given more power and then they pulled in Rand Carthon, I think Amy and the vice president, everybody who's in charge of this organization knew that, hey, going into this year, it was going to be a rough year.
Yeah.
Like, we knew that. Now, as fans, we hope for the best. We expect the best. And when we don't receive the best, well, then we want people's heads. I don't think that you're making any changes coaching-wise outside of the only one that I think is
O-line.
up. Yeah, I mean, O-line, and I would even go as far as saying the defensive coordinator, or because I think we've seen all we need to. Because how long has he been here, Shane Bowen?
This is
His third year.
3.
Yeah. So I mean, if you make a change, that would be reasonable. there, but then you kind of in the same predicament, as everyone else. But with Tim Kelly and Mike Vrabel, I think that you give Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel time to correct the holes that John Robinson left us with. And if you do that, and we get into next year and we're still struggling, and we end up having a similar season to this year, then by all means, you make a change at head coach, you make a change at offensive coordinator.
I have said those exact words,
Yeah,
brother. I have said those exact same words.
But to do it this offseason, it makes no sense. It really don't, because with all the holes that we were left facing with after John Robinson during the offseason this year, with the cap space that we had, which was hardly nothing because of the Julio Jones signing, like, what did you expect Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel to do? I mean, pull money out their butthole and say, here you go, come join the Tennessee Titans for our crappy 100s. I mean, it wasn't going to happen, guys. And now that the organization has the cap space, they have the room to go out here and build the roster that Rand wants to see, that Mike wants to see. Then going into next year, we will really have a perspective. Mid-season, we should know whether or not this Mike Vrabel, Rand Carthon experience is going to work out. And we will also know whether or not Tim Kelly will be the future of the offensive coordinating, on this team.
Good stuff, bro. Good stuff.
That's just my opinion. But with that being said, guys, let's hop on into Massey's Fly High Shy bold prediction of the week.
All right, guys, we are back with once again another Fly High Shy bold prediction of the week. So we are 0 for 14, I think. But that's not going to stop me from trying. I'm going to go out on a limb here once again. I'm going to say Chigakagwu gets a receiving touchdown along with Chris Moore, also with a receiving touchdown. Switching it up once again, making it different. Guys, what do y'all think about my bold predictions?
Man, I personally, I like it, dude. I think that, that is something that could seriously happen. What's your thoughts, Lee?
I could see both of those. But let's go ahead and throw in Tajay Spears getting a rushing and a receiving.
Nice. See, I was going to say something, Tajay, but then I remembered early in the show I said something about we probably shouldn't run. So I didn't want to contradict myself on that one. But, hey, if we could throw in an honorable mention, I could say Tajay gets a rushing to go with DeAndre getting a receiving and Chris Moore getting a receiving.
Well, look, I mean, if you want to be honest about that, even when the offensive line hasn't been able to do anything for us in the running game, when we've gotten in the red zone, who's put up touchdowns for us? Has it been Will Levis?
It was Will Levis in the last
game. or has it been Derrick Henry?
William Mayo Man. Levis.
If you look at most of the touchdowns that have been scored over the last 4 games, it's been Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
and
for
that's
sure.
That's just the cold, honest truth. Henry's.
Yeah, some of those came from right outside the red zone too.
Oh yeah, you're right. It did come from right outside the red zone. Yeah.
But basically the same thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the point. I think Henry, he makes a way when he's in the red zone. But I mean, you can't do that from midfield. I mean, you got to be able to hit that second level, and so I understand that. But yeah, guys, you can I could see, and I wouldn't even say it would be contradicting yourself if you would have said Spears, just because of how we performed in the red zone with the running game. It's like it's completely different. So we could be sucking it up in the running game, then get in the red zone and boom, running
All right,
touchdown.
Damn.
well,
We
you talked
beat-
me off the ledge, Gary. I'm going to take everything back. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll keep it as
Terrible take. Unsubscribe.
No, I'll definitely keep it as is. And like I said, maybe throw the honorable mention that Tajay gets in the end zone too, receiving or.
Yeah. Shout out to Blueface. His prediction is Spears will get 2 touchdowns. Is his guess. So,
Nice.
I get that. And you got like I said, I don't think it's contradicting yourself when you don't want to run the ball, but if you get in the red zone, that's where I feel like we've been more successful in the red zone is the running game than we have the passing game.
Right. And if you get Tajay, if you put him in a position, quick little half triangle to the middle of the field or wherever it's open, you can get him the ball and he can get in that end zone.
Yeah. Well, most definitely, guys. Well, go ahead,
I've got
Lee.
an interesting stat about Derrick Henry. The average percentage of 8-man plus boxes that he has faced in all the games this year are averaging 35%. So he's faced an 8-man box 35% of the time this year. That's the second most in the league behind CMC.
I mean, you look at those numbers, and and you know why those numbers are there. It's because the league respects Derrick Henry as a running back, even behind a dumpster fire offensive line.
I'm gonna send this.
They
to
have
the,
to.
I'm gonna send this to the group chat. So.
All right. But yeah, you look at those numbers. Yeah, they're gonna stack 8 in the box when Henry's the only running back on the field. But I think at this point,
first down, the runs on first down. The Titans are running on first down 52.9% this season.
No, that's Todd Downing stuff there, man. That's one thing.
Well, that's down from the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
That's the lowest since 2018. 2018, 58.6. 2019, 59.5. 2020, 64.1. 2021, 59.9. And then 2022, 63.4. But the first down run rates with Derrick this season, 33.2%. Last season, 50.7. 2021, 51.2. 2020, 49.6%. And then 2019, 42.5.
Yeah. And,
So that's basically stating that the Titans are literally throwing it more on first down.
Yeah. But I think really you got to get into situational football there because there's been a lot of times where we've seen the Titans run it on first down this year where it was most definitely a passing situation.
Yes.
And
like 1st and 15.
And I think guys that ultimately when you look at the whole picture from the personnel we have all the way to production that we have on the field, you have to realize that in a way when it comes to play calling, their hands are cuffed right now. We don't have the personnel we need to go out here and perform like we have in the past few years, whether it's the running game or passing game. I mean, you're basically darned if you do and darned if you don't. If you call a pass play, well, guess what? Your offensive line can't hold up to protect Will Levis half the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go out there and go play action pass every single play. It just won't work. And you can't call a play action pass without having a good running game either. So I mean, you gotta find a way to balance those 3 things. And with the personnel that we got to the production that we have, I mean, you can't get mad at Tim Kelly for for the play calls. It's frustrating. Trust me, I know. I mean, I think we all three can agree it's been a frustrating year from just seeing what we've seen, from play calls to production to personnel, you know? And do I hope it can get better? Yes. Will it get better? I don't know. I'm not Lee Hillis. I don't have that little glass orb that I rub, you know, that tells me the future. So, but, you know, with that being said, guys, we definitely want to take the time just to thank everybody for tuning in to What's Shaking Titans. If you're not yet already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please take this time to hit the subscribe button, as well as turn on all notifications to get the latest from What's Shaking Titans. Give us a big old like. That will help us out with the YouTube algorithm. That way more people get to see our video. We'll pop up more often. And guys, last but not least, don't forget to check out Temu, guys. You can use code TAN83620 and get 30% off site-wide. And then if you're completely new to Temu, you don't have an account, you never set up an account with them, you can follow the link in the description, the link that is pulled up on the screen right now, and you'll receive a $100 coupon bundle to go towards all your purchases. Guys, definitely go check out Temu, check out Fanatics, as well as check out Homage through the Titan Upload Network, and Lee Hillis over here. So, Lee, you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, you can go. I'm actually fixing to go post the link on my Twitter page while we're live, so you can go over there. Of course, if you need that last minute Christmas present or Christmas gift, wherever you want to call it, I would say yes, it would be late, but it'll still get there. It'll be worth it. They have some of the most comfortable clothing out there.
Yeah, guys, so definitely go check that out. Check out the 615 podcast. Definitely go check out the Titan Upload Network. Don't forget to tune in to the Sport Nation Nashville tomorrow at 6 p.m. with both the Nats, Matthew Maddox, as well as yours truly from What's Shaking Titans, Matthew 2 Savage, right there in the middle there, guys, a.k.a. Andy Fitzpatrick. With that being said, guys, want to wish everybody a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. With all the love from What's Shaking Titans, we got two things we like to say when we get out of here. That's peace out, tighten up. This episode of What's Shaking Titans is powered by Bailey's Barbecue. Bailey's Barbecue, smoking good barbecue.